Hello and welcome. My name is Shruti Chaturvedi, and in this session, we are looking at how to strengthen application and network layer security using CIlium, which is a really cool open source tool and a faster way to implement least privilege security in a scalable Kubernetes environment. So CIlium isn't restricted to Kubernetes only, but in this session, we are going to be looking at CIlium with Kubernetes. So what does CIlium do? With a little play on the word acronym, CIlium provides security, observability, and networking for workloads running on Kubernetes by leveraging the power offered by BPF. So now we understand the acronym. So how does CIlium really leverage BPF? Whenever we install CIlium inside of a cluster, as we can see on the right, we get these CIlium agents running on each node in the cluster. And what the CIlium agent is going to do is inject BPF or custom BPF programs into the Linux kernel. And the cool thing about that is the BPF programs get JIT compiled, so the execution is really, really fast. Not only that, every time your cluster network definitions change, the BPF programs, they get compiled and re-executed live without the need to reboot your system. In terms of network security, CIlium is a custom CNI which leverages hash tables from eBPF, and it eliminates the need of using IP tables. Hash tables are much more scalable than IP tables are. CIlium also supports the standard layer 3, layer 4 network policy for ingress and egress. Additionally, CIlium also supports application layer security, which means security based on API, DNS, and protocol definitions. So we have resource-based identity inside the CIlium, and environments where IPs are constantly changing, pod or container-based identity is really helpful. There are quite a few advantages of using CIlium over the Kubernetes network policy. So Kubernetes network policy, the natively only offer layer 3, layer 4 network policies. And CIlium add to that by offering application layer policies as well. And the other advantage that I mentioned earlier was that CIlium CNI uses hash tables to do all of the security mappings, and which is both scalable and really, really fast. So it reduces latency. So lookup times for hash tables are almost constant, and we don't need to reboot our system every time a new mapping is added to our hash table. With that, let's move on to the demo. So what we have here is a single node Minikube cluster with CIlium already installed. And with that, we have the CIlium agent and the CIlium operator. So this is installed as a part of the install.yaml file. And what this file is going to do is configure our CNI and also install CIlium agent once per each node and all other configuration that's needed for the CIlium CNI. The other thing that we are seeing here are some custom pods which are deployed as part of the deploy API.yaml, which is a CIlium example file where we have two different organizations, an old reference taken from Star Wars, and the two organizations are the Empire and the Alliance organization. And what we want to do is protect our API called the Death Star API from unwanted access, specifically unwanted access from outside of the organization. So if we have a client which is trying to access this API outside of the Empire organization, we want to restrict and block complete access to our API to protect it, because that outside client might be an attacker. So without a network policy in place, when we try to send a GET request at this particular URL, what we get is a OK 200 response from the API. And when we try to send it from outside of this organization, so X-Wing is a client or possibly an attacker, which lies outside of the Empire organization, we get the same response. Now, looking at the response, it is basically telling us all of the resources and the methods which the API supports. Now, this is not necessarily something we want anyone inside or outside of the Empire organization to get their hands on. So we don't want to allow this particular method. And let's try and see what would happen if we are executing one of these supported methods by this API. So first, let's try and send this request from inside of our organization. So TIE Fighter client, which is inside of this organization, we are trying to send a post request requesting for a landing. So we get a 200 OK, the ship has landed. So that is amazing. We want our organization, within organization, someone to be able to land their ship at Death Star. But let's see what would happen when we try to execute the same command, someone trying to attack Death Star from outside of our organization or the Empire organization, sending that same request. We also get the ship landed 200 OK. Now, this is not something that we want, and we want to change that. How do we do that? We basically are going to apply a layer 7 HTTP-based CIlium network policy. So with that in place, what I'm going to do is simply apply this command. And now we will try and execute the GET request from the same organization. So it goes through. That is amazing. Now, what would happen if I'm trying to execute it from a different organization? So this is blocked. And this is exactly what we wanted, to really leverage that least privilege security and that fine access-based security. So the demo ends here, and so does the presentation. We are at the end of it, and thank you so much for watching. If this is something that is interesting to you, feel free to drop an email to me, and also do check out CIlium since they're really cool.